Hey everybody, welcome to the BDAWSON show. Today's going to be a special show because we're going to be talking about 10X GrowthCon this week. The importance or significance of this show is because I recorded a show when I came home from GrowthCon last year. And so much has happened between GrowthCon of last year to GrowthCon of this year. It's been exactly a year. And I think those that listen to the two shows, or if Will's able to put some contrast between the two shows together, it should give inspiration to the people that are going to GrowthCon this week to really think about their mindset and framing the next 12 months. I went into GrowthCon last year because I had read 10X Rule, I'd read Sell or Be Sold, I listened to multiple audiobooks. I had digested a significant amount of content from Grant and the people he's surrounded himself with on Instagram and for me and on YouTube. And for me, I went into GrowthCon to understand, is this an environment? Is this the type of culture? Is this the type of people that I would like to spend my time around? Is there businesses where I could add value to them with my experiences and my knowledge and the skill set that I could bring to the equation that would complement anything that Grant and his team already does? And so I went in to see if there was alignment. I came out of GrowthCon, and if you listen to my show, talking about all the remarkable business owners I met, talking about meeting Grant and understanding that they didn't have business services. They had sales and marketing, and they have real estate investing or learning, teaching people how to learn how to invest in real estate. But I didn't know going into it the depth and width of all that or the type of people that were using that material. Coming off of GrowthCon last year, I talked about the remarkable experiences I had with the fabulous people that I got to meet and the little bit of conversation that I had with Grant, and realizing in his real estate class, this guy goes deep in content. He's willing to show you how to do things, or you can do it alongside with him and his team. And so for me, it really appealed to show me, teach me, or show me, teach me, or do it with me mindset. And I really liked that. And I was blown away by my experience last year. So I talked about it. Well, now fast forward a year later, I'm officially Grant Cardone's business partner in Cardone Ventures, a new venture we launched in the middle of last year. We've got 120 or 130 businesses going through the program. 100% according to plan, we're going to have 1,000 people go through this year. And we've had so much success deploying these business methodologies coupled with the sales and marketing that Grant and the team have always and already been doing, that the momentum we've created as a team has been remarkable. And the impact we're having on people's lives is unbelievable. Like I am so excited going to GrowthCon this week. I'm a featured speaker. Last year, I was a simple participant. But I set goals. I remember leaving GrowthCon last year and I told Natalie, I will be on that stage next year talking about something significant because what I saw for me was so believable, the ability to impact people's lives through what they were already doing. I could immediately, because I understood my value contribution, I understood my skill set, I understood my experience, and experiences, and I met enough people there to say we would love to have that accessible to us. So I went there with a plan to see what they were doing and how I might fit in, and is it a good fit culturally, operationally, financially. Came out of that designing a program and a partnership with Grant Cardone, and we have blown away our expectations in the first 6 months of last year. And this year, we're going to grow by 4 to 6x what we did last year. And this is our first full year of operations. I spent most of last year trying to create the process, create the tools, create the programs, create the online programs, talk to people to find out what they needed and how they wanted to receive that information, and learning how the system works in the whole Cardone enterprises. But now I'm rolling into GrowthCon, delivering a whole platform that we've created for business owners or individuals that want to grow and scale their business or their life. And to be in that position, contrasted to last year, is just unbelievable. And it happened with absolute intentionality. And if you go back and listen to my podcasts for the whole year, you'll understand each iteration on top of the last iteration to get to where I'm at today and why I'm so excited, not only for me, but also for Natalie, who will be a featured speaker for 10X Ladies with Elena Cardone. And the whole experience for us in the last 12 months has pushed us to grow bigger, better, and more impactfully as people, to think larger, to figure out ways to execute better, to deliver more value to people in order to impact their lives, and continues to build on top of each other. Plus, I'm an investor in Cardone Capital now. I've got over $7.5 million invested in Cardone Capital. Now, trust me, it went in $1 million, $2 million, $5 million at a time because I'm a skeptical guy. I'm a nervous investor. Like I don't like to think of myself as just making bad decisions. So I'm overly cautious when it comes to what I invest in, who I invest in, and what those investments are going into. And so I have very little money in the stock market, and I wanted income. I have learned so much about real estate, multifamily real estate. I've toured many of the properties that Grant has been negotiating and buying and putting into the funds. And I see the level of detail, the level of intentionality, the level of commitment, the negotiation capability. Like if I had to negotiate something, I would consider myself a very strong negotiator, hence selling my business at 77 times EBITDA. But different things require different negotiation skills. And if I was going to go out and buy property on my own, which I've chose not to do other than a few projects that I've been doing in the past, I would partner with Grant Cardone, because if there's a negotiator you want representing you and your money who's investing alongside of you, it is Grant Cardone. So now all of a sudden you take last year's podcast, you take this year's podcast that I'm dropping right before GrowthCon. And why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I think there's so much value in contrast. And I think most business owners or people don't make decisions with contrast. They make a decision based on, should I do this or should I not do this? Not, if I did this, here's what would happen. If I do not do this, here's what I could lose, or here's what would happen. And so I want to use this so that people have contrast. When you have intentionality, so you're coming into GrowthCon, for those that are coming to GrowthCon, you need to have intentionality. What is it specifically you want to get out of your experience at GrowthCon? What do you want to be able to do with those experiences once you leave GrowthCon? Being very specific and being very intentional about your objectives and your goals will help you find the content, the granular aspect of what all of GrowthCon has to offer, because there's so much that's going to be offered that you have to have intentionality about what you want to receive so you can go home and implement or deploy. And in my case, I went looking for the answer to this single question that I went into GrowthCon with. Is Grant Cardone the kind of partner I believe I could grow and scale my personal, professional, and financial life with, or is he not? That was the only question I had to ask myself going into GrowthCon. So my level of awareness, my level of perspective on everything that was happening, was there high execution? Was it intentful? Was there value? Does it attract people that want to take this information and change their life? Can Grant surround himself with highly capable, highly skilled, highly empowered people? And when I went into GrowthCon, my antenna was up looking at that. When I left GrowthCon, I said, this is exactly everything I could have hoped or wished for. So my question to you is, what is your specific question or intent going into GrowthCon? Because as I've said 1,000 times, and I'll say it again, the quality of your questions will always determine the quality of your results. If you don't have good questions, you're always going to get poor results. Watch my 2 podcasts, this one and last year's, and ask yourself, how can I establish my goals for what I want to accomplish, what I need to hear, what I need to see, and what pieces I need to take with me in order to solidify my personal, professional, financial goals through 2020. Because if you listen to my 2 podcasts, you'll understand using, and I think my podcast right before GrowthCon was on mentors. I believe the second part of that podcast was the one after my GrowthCon podcast last year, which was part 2 of mentors. Beautiful thing. If you listen to these 4 podcasts, you listen to Mentors Part 1, GrowthCon last year, Mentors Part 2 of last year, and this podcast going into GrowthCon, you should have a remarkable mindset about how to come to GrowthCon or do the GrowthCon live stream. If you haven't, go to grantcardone.com, swipe up on his Instagram, follow Grant, go to his Instagram. You can swipe up and you can do GrowthCon 4 live stream. This is so significant because if you just take this blueprint of exactly what I did with specific intentionality, how to find mentors, how to align with mentors, how to appeal to mentors, how to learn from mentors. GrowthCon last year, GrowthCon this year, and you look at what I've experienced, it can create a blueprint for your individual personal, professional, financial success about how to use this event, how to use this remarkable experience, GrowthCon 4, to propel yourself 1 year from now when you come to GrowthCon 5. Everything can change in a year. And this podcast is literally a podcast of encouragement for so many of you on an individual level, on a professional level, for business owners, for high producers. If you want to 10x your results in the next 12 months, you need to go in with intentionality. You need to understand what your gaps are. You need to understand what your weaknesses are so that you can intentionally take the strengths that you will find at GrowthCon 4 from the multitude of remarkable speakers. And some people have asked me, like, Kevin Hart's coming and we've got some rappers coming. And they're like, why would you have those people? Man, if you want to go out and build a personal brand that actually builds a huge business behind it, you should be listening to what these guys have to say, because they are global brands as individuals who have created an economic structure behind them that in itself is a real business. You need to take how they went about that, the things they had to break. Do you think any of these people that are speaking, if they're entertainers or if they're business people, if you go into it with a mindset that why are they there because, how does it fit? Every one of those people that's on stage had to break through barriers, had break points in their life. They could have been financial. They could have been physical. They could have been emotional, structural. Every person on that stage has had to do things along their evolution of growth that's significant. And every one of them, including me, has been challenged at different points of our life with maybe even giving up on your dreams and goals. There's so much to learn from so many high-quality people, different aspects of life. But if you don't know what you're looking for, you can't receive the data, the reference point for making the decision to move through what you're challenged with and break through to the next level. Therefore, if you go into something and come out of something, it isn't the event's fault that you feel you don't get value. It's your fault because you go into it not understanding the value you want to get out of it. Using me as an example of just the last 12 months, how much has happened personally, professionally, financially, for me, for Natalie, for Grant, for Elena, for the businesses. Cardone Ventures is working with well over $450 million of businesses today. Whereas last year, it wasn't even a concept. Think about that. Think of how many people we've had the privilege to work with, that we've been able to touch their lives, that we've been able to assist them and help them in their business and in their family and in their professional growth. And we're just starting. We're just starting. This will be 3 to 5 times that size in a year. In 10 years, we will 10x that. We are on our way to creating the most single valuable enterprise for enterprises, for individuals that have businesses that want to be a part of something huge, something bigger, more successful, more valuable. We're creating that not only for business owners, but if you just look at the momentum that Grant has had with Cardone Capital and how much funds he's raising and how many amazing projects he's acquiring, everything's happening exponentially. The question I have for you is, what is the starting point for you to use this as examples for your personal, professional, financial growth? So in a year from now, you can go back and say everything is happening exponentially. That is the goal. That is the single thing after spending 9 months with Grant. He wants to find ways to impact people's lives so they can grow, they can create more, they can 10x their impact on a global basis. And the question I have for you is, what are you going to draft behind? See, I made a decision to draft behind Grant. I feel I can move faster. I can create higher impact. I can learn more. I can be pressed more from a mentor by drafting behind Grant and collaborating with him and adding value to his life so he can add value back to my life. And by doing that, we are growing incrementally together versus what we would have done or what I would have done alone. So when you think about that concept, the question I want you to ask yourself is this. Going into GrowthCon, what are the specific goals I want to have happen to me, for my family, for my business, for my employees coming out of GrowthCon? How do I identify those specific things I want to accomplish? How do I go in and look and find those answers? And then how do I draft behind all these programs that have been created, either to take active income and turn it into passive income, take your business and 10x it, take your own personal income and 10x that, to take your agency or your business or your strategy or your concept or your idea or whatever it is. How specific are you looking for answers and solutions so when they present themselves at GrowthCon, you can grab them, slot them into the things that will impact your life the fastest and build your confidence so by the time you get a year out, you're an example to everyone around you of exactly how to do that. And this is why I'm dropping this podcast the week of GrowthCon, because there's such a dynamic contrast about what I talked about last year and what I've accomplished in the last 12 months, because I was intentional, I was specific, I knew what I was looking for, I planned accordingly, I behaved accordingly, I engaged accordingly. There's so many nuances to go from where you're at to where you want to be, and you have to acknowledge and recognize the dichotomy, the differences, the gaps between now and then, because you own filling those gaps and doing your part in order for you to be an example to others on how to do that. And so for me, I take that responsibility to heart. Therefore, I'm willing to present to you these elements in this podcast. How to think about going into what you're looking for, how to find and connect with people who can answer those questions, how to pay attention to what they're saying. Maybe not everyone's going to appeal to everything, but you got to, it's like 3 feet from gold. The more you can mine intentionally to find the gold, the better chance you have of finding the gold. The better your strategy of where to start mining, the more likely you're going to be able to find the vein that leads to the big pile of gold. If you just wander aimlessly into an event with no intentionality of what you want to take out of the event, you will get no food for the soul. So for me, I'm very pleased to have documented my experiences both going into GrowthCon and coming out of GrowthCon, and then going into GrowthCon this year to give that contrast. And I would say, if you go back and listen to my podcasts, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. And for all of you who are downloading my podcast, listening to my podcast, sharing my podcast, responding and engaging on my podcast, and saying how much the information I'm delivering to you is changing your life and impacting your life and propelling you to new ways of thinking and doing and results. Understand that the reason I'm doing this is every time I shoot a podcast, I remind myself how important these things are. Elevating up, finding mentors who can impact your life, being intentional, being actionable, being result-oriented, and then transferring that ability, that knowledge to people who trust you and follow you is the method, the secret sauce to scaling personally, professionally, financially. And that's what I'm going to be talking about at GrowthCon, because so many people are asking me, how do you do it? And I want to share exactly how I did it, because ultimately, as an individual, as a contributor to somebody's business, as a contributor to your own business, or as a business owner who has a huge enterprise, we all have to have the mindset of growing and scaling personally, professionally, financially, and then teaching others to do it, or we're limited by our own capabilities. Scaling, the more input you have, the more people giving you input on doing things bigger, better, faster, the more people that challenge each other to do it more efficiently, more effectively, the more energy, the more effort, the more success, the more results, the bigger you get. That's how you grow and scale a business. But it starts with you growing and scaling yourself. For me, I want to be an example of that, because I have so many remarkable examples of that to me. And I personally want to thank Grant and Elena and Natalie for being those examples to me and reminding me every day, every single day, that if you're intentional and you're actionable, you can achieve anything you put your mind to. I hope that this podcast puts you in a frame of mind to where you come into GrowthCon ready, willing, prepared, and excited about what you're going to do in the next 12 months when you leave GrowthCon. And for all of you who trust us and are showing up, thank you for being there. For those of you that are curious what this could do to impact your life, go to the live stream. Go on to grantcardone.com, find the live stream, sign up for the live stream, watch it with your family, watch it with your friends, watch it with your employees, and prepare yourself for 10xing your personal, professional, financial growth in 2020. And we will be right there trying to set the example and establishing the process for how to do it. Thank you for joining me on the B. Dawson Show.